Hi guys, welcome back. So today we are going to be discussing about the paint space and the adhesive space. In paints, I'll be covering 5 companies: Asian, Berger, Kansai, Nerolac, Indigo Paints and Sirca Paints. In terms of adhesive, I'll be covering Jyoti Adhesives, Jyoti Resins and Adhesives and Pidilite. Okay. So first thing first, let us go to the paints ka segment. As you know, paints ka segment in terms of demand, it is getting better. In terms of volume growth, finally we are seeing in over the last quarter or two, we are seeing that the volume growth is finally catching up to the value growth, right? In terms also like volume growth is higher than that of value growth, which we didn't see over the last year at all. And this quarter we had a very strong festive season also, क्योंकि अगर आप जो भी paints का company देखते हो, they are very much into decorative space. Like most of the companies have higher percentage of their revenue coming from decorative space versus the industrial space. Now what is the difference between decorative and industrial space? Decorative paints are those paints जो आप घर के बाहर और अंदर करते हो. Industrial paints जो आपके कार में जाते हैं, बाइक में या machineries में जाते हैं, that is called as your industrial paints. Okay. And in Q3, if you see, usually decorative paints like has a highest sale compared to that of your industrial paints, क्योंकि Q3 के पहले Q3 we have Diwali, and क्या होता है दिवाली के 10 दिन पहले people tend to repaint their houses and everything, right, which is a huge part of culture in terms of North India. Maybe not now, I do not know how it is right now, but this is one of the reasons why Q3 is very strong. Okay, so in spite of that, you will see that although Q3 had a very strong festive season and everything, you will see that the paints company haven't really performed that great. You know, everybody's had a single digit growth, especially in Q3, although being a very very strong quarter for them, right? Just to give you a flavor of numbers, in terms of if you look at Asian Paints has grown its sale by 5% on a year-on-year basis. Let me just recheck. Yeah, 5.3% on a year-on-year basis, and PAT has been up by 33% on a year-on-year basis. Berger का देखते हो around 7% on a year-on-year basis, PAT also around 30 to 32% का देखते हो. Kansai Nerolac अगर आप देखते हो, similar story in terms of Kansai also. Kansai has the revenue is up 5.4%, PAT is up 40%, right? You will see for all the 3 companies आप देखते हो growth is somewhere between 5 to 7%, single digit है top line. But अगर आप PAT का देखते हो, PAT is like a north of 30-40%. Very simple का रीजन है, लास्ट टाइम जब ये सब रॉ मटेरियल का इन्फ्लेशन हो रहा था, राइट, जो पेंट्स में वॉट एवर रॉ मटेरियल्स दैट वर देयर, दे रोज अप लाइक क्विकली 2 to 3x द रॉ मटेरियल प्राइस इंक्रीज्ड, एंड दे टुक मल्टीपल राउंड्स ऑफ प्राइस रिविजन या प्राइस हाइक उन्होंने ले लिया था. नाउ गोइंग फॉरवर्ड व्हाट हैज हैपेंड, द रॉ मटेरियल का प्राइस कटा है, बट द प्राइस ओवरऑल, यू नो, दे हैवंट रियली रिड्यूस्ड द प्राइस एट द सिमिलर रेट एट विच द रॉ मटेरियल का प्राइस हैज जस्ट फॉलन डाउन. सो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस क्या हुआ है, द एक्सपेंशन, रॉ मटेरियल मार्जिन्स का फॉल ऑफ प्राइस के वजह से मार्जिन का एक्सपेंशन हुआ है. As a result, you're seeing सबका whooping PAT is up like 30-40%, in that range it is there. But ultimately, you tell me, how long can you sustain this raw material का, you know, वजह से आपका PAT बढ़ना? Ultimately, you will need a sales ना to grow, because अगर sales नहीं grow करते हैं, PAT will also not grow at that rate, and then EPS नहीं बढ़ता है, and the shareholder will not make money because of that, right? So ultimately, these kind of companies becomes, you know, it is a kind of company, I would say, where you would park, but due to the lack of growth, what will happen, the investors will not be benefited as much. Now coming to, like, out of all these people, there is one company that is going above and beyond in terms of all parameters, and that is Indigo Paints, right? And Indigo Paints also, I still remember when they came first in IPO, they also like told like, oh, they'll go 2 to 3x industry rate. But क्या हुआ था, you know, after that COVID आ गया था and all of this, and I still remember Hemant Jalan जो है, who is the CEO, in one of his con calls he told, like, you know, he actually, I believe he apologized to the investors, telling like, I know we've been underperforming, like we are supposed to always go like 2 to 3x industry rate, and we're not able to do it. And for the first time, you know, they've been actually growing at a way faster rate compared to the other paints का segment जो है. So अगर आप revenue का बात करेंगे, revenue has grown by 21% on a year-on-year basis. PAT जो है, it is grown by 46%. Okay, but one thing can you see, सबका PAT is in that single digit 5-6-7% में, whereas Indigo का जो है is around 21%. It is literally like compared to आप क्या बोलते हैं, compared to Asian Paints, it is 3.5x. The sales is they're doing 3.5x compared to that of likes of Asian Paints. One of the few reasons is, again, for Indigo Paints to do well is Indigo Paints started from T3, T4 cities, right? And they started from Kerala and they're moving to T1 and T2 cities. And T1 and T2 cities में ज़्यादा construction होता है, ज़्यादा, you know, you also have higher sale of premium paints. Whereas Asian and Berger Paints started from T1 and T2, and now they're more into T3 and T4. And you all know कि like rural economy has still not revived at that, you know, towards that pre-COVID levels also. So this is one of the reason why Indigo is also able to grow at a way faster pace. And another thing is, like, like Indigo ka base is smaller, right, compared to the likes of Asian and Berger Paints. So overall this. Now let's talk about Indigo in detail क्योंकि बाकी दोनों का sales ही नहीं है, so उसका बात करके आप detail में जाके आप क्या ही what will you do? Even in terms of volume growth, if I give you volume growth for Asian Paints has been 12%. Volume growth for Berger Paints has been around 6.9%. And so, again, volume growth is also in a very either low double digit or high single digit, around 10 to 12% only. So there is no point in going like deep diving to, into that space. Now, अगर आप Indigo Paints का volume growth देखते हो, volume growth has been very stunning because उनका volume growth they don't give on a consolidated basis, right? They give you like section कि like cement और पुट्टी में इतना हुआ, enamels में इतना हुआ और इतना, they give a breakdown. But overall, if you look, volume growth has been, on an average also in the north of 20% for Indigo Paints. और उनका capex भी अभी ढंग, it's been going on really well. उनका एक water based plant है which is in Jodhpur, which will be commissioned by FY25. उनका जो recent acquisition किया था उन्होंने Apple का इनका जो B2B spaces, even there also they're really performing well, right? They're increasing the sales force over there. They're also getting into new water based plant and water based paint and everything. So overall for them there has been no problem in terms of growing here, right? Also company is getting into project sales. मतलब क्या है, like B2B space में earlier these Indigo Paints was not that they were not into industrial paints, they were into like 100% decorative paints, right? So now they're also moving towards industrial paints, so even again it will add on to the revenue, right? So overall great set of numbers in terms of like in the entire paint space. If there is any paint company that is really doing well, it is Indigo Paints. Nobody else is at least growing at that rate. Now by the year end they're targeting a top line of around 1300 to 1400 crores. Let me just get the what has been the 9 months ka, ठीक है, around 277, 270, 341. So roughly if you take 300, around 900 crores, it comes up to there. Yeah. Around 850 to 900 crores is what they have done as of 9 months. So 1300 to 1400 is what they're targeting going forward also. So again, and the company is actually also aiming like they want to end this year probably with a 25% of growth in growth. But going forward in by next year they're targeting a 40% of growth rate, right? So Indigo Paints is, I would say if I have to rank it, it would be Indigo Paints followed by Asian and Berger, followed by I would say like Kansai and Nerolac, right? Like that is the rate I would give. And then we have your Sirca Paints. Sirca Paints is a very small player here, right, in the entire paints paint ka category if you have to look at it, right? And they sell both. They sell the paint, wood ka coating ho gaya, decorative paints, adhesives bhi bechta hai, right? And they have a very huge range also. Economy range mein bhi hai, economy and entry level, premium range also they have. So a lot of it. उनका अगर आप mix देखते हो, retail से आता है 70% और industrial paints जो होता है, OEM जो होता है, it contributes around 30%. Now if you look at the sales here, sales has grown by 12% on a year on year, but PAT has been very flat, right? उनका कहना ये है कि like since Delhi में recently there was this ban on the construction works, right? Like you can't do any construction work because pollution is too much, especially winter में pollution ज़्यादा होता है. So because of that a lot of plans, a lot of projects got halted. So that impacted the sale. And on top of that this ban was introduced before your क्या बोलते हैं, before your Diwali. So after that Diwali was there, so a lot of workers who went to their natives didn't come back because of their very long extended vacation. So these were the two reasons why Sirca Paints hasn't really done that great. One more thing is like I would say Sirca Paints has really not performed up to the mark. I would say the growth rate hasn't been that very strong at least. So I would say you need to really wait and watch and see how it goes for Sirca. At least compared to the likes of Indigo, I think it's something to wait and watch. At least for me, I would say I would rather like wait and watch and see how does Sirca ka story gets developed after this quarter. Okay? So that's that about paint industry. And I think the last thing is with the entry of Grasim, right? Everybody's been panicking over here. So of course, अगर आप Indigo Paints का भी बात करते हो, when asked कि like हेमंत चलन से जब पूछा गया था, the CEO of Indigo Paints, कि like how are you able to grow at 3 to 4x of industry का pace compared to like your competitors are going hardly at single digit growth. उनका बोलना था कि like one is of course they are able to grow at this fastest because एक शिफ्ट हो रहा है अनऑर्गेनाइज ऑर्गेनाइज स्पेसेस, सो फ्रॉम देयर दे गेनिंग मार्केट शेयर. द सेकंड इज ऑब्वियसली दे आर गेनिंग मार्केट शेयर व्हेन दे आर मूविंग टू T1 and T2 cities is because of at the cost of the big players. So both it is a combination of both. Having said that, So if Indigo Paints जो एक नया company है, if they are only telling कि like जो existing company that they are growing at the cost of the organized players जो है, so it is not a doubt कि like जब Grasim आएगा there could be an impact. Now although कि like जब Grasim आएगा, a lot of management is telling कि like of course we do not know any better. The management of कोई भी Asian Paints हो, Berger Paints हो या Indigo Paints हो, you'll hear them telling कि like paints का space इंडिया में इतना बड़ा है that everybody can grow at a everybody can grow at everybody can have their own base of customer, everybody can grow, it won't be much of an effect. But having said that, you will see right Asian Paints और Berger Paints का हालत कैसा है, because earlier they were only the duopoly और अभी इतना सारा paints का company आ गया है in organized space, so already seeing an impact. So I think this is something I don't have an opinion on this कि like अगर अच्छा हो सकता है Grasim का entry के वजह से, वरना नहीं होगा. It is a bit of dichotomy, because one way you feel कि like in सबका market share they might lose because Indigo is able to grow because of that only. And the second कि like it is not as easy also as people think, क्योंकि अगर एक paints company को आना है, they have to set up that huge manufacturing plants, right? उनका वो वाला cost setup होगा, and then moving towards a distribution space when you talk about it is not easy. अगर आप एक paints का एक distribution करते हो, you have to put up a tinting machine, right? एक dealer के पास probably 2 tinting machine हो सकते हैं, Berger Paints को हो सकते हैं और Indigo Paints को हो सकते हैं. Why would he want to get your tinting machine also, right? So there has to be some sort of incentives. On the other hand, we also don't think like Grasim, if you look at any management, even they tell like Grasim is also not like they wouldn't do something like enormous price cut they did, right? Because उन लोगों ने अगर उतना सारा price cut किया, then they only will suffer, because ultimately ये भी एक थोड़ा commodity, the raw materials are commodities here, right? So even it doesn't make a logical sense for them to like give इतना price cut के like they take the market share from Asian, Berger and Indigo Paints by doing that. So overall I think this is one thing when you talk about Grasim, right? It is to wait and watch. But of course that ultimately जो Asian Paints and Berger Paints का जो duopoly था earlier, that no longer exists, and it will get again more and more disrupted with the with the addition of new players in this space, right? So that's about paints ka space. Then we can move on to like what is that, adhesive ka space, right? So two companies we have here. One is Jyoti Resins and Adhesives, जो एक small cap का company है, and the other one is Pidilite Industries, right? Now Pidilite on such a larger base, I would say it's very, of course these companies cannot grow at the likes of 20% when they used to grow when probably me and you were younger, right? At that time क्या हुआ था, they were still growing, capex कर रहा था, scale था business में, size भी छोटा था. Now size इतना बड़ा हो चुका है, the fact that you're doing that 5% का sale या 6% का sale only is a big deal. It's not a joke, right? Yeah, of course it might not be as lucrative for investors right now as it was back then, but again from a business perspective, if I have to talk about it, it is no joke, right? So अगर आप वही देखते हो कि लाइक सेल्स हार्डली ग्रो बाय 44%, उससे स्टोरी यहाँ पे भी सेम है कि लाइक पैट हैज़ ग्रोन बाय लाइक 66%, वही कि लाइक रॉ मटेरियल का प्राइस घट गया है इसके वजह से. तो अदर देन दैट यहाँ पे पीडीलाइट में बात करने का कुछ है नहीं कि लाइक सिंगल डिजिट ग्रोथ इंजन है, बड़ा सा बिजनेस है, डिविडेंड इंजन है बेसिकली आप बोल सकते हो. जो भी डालो यू माइट नॉट लूज मनी, बट ऑल्सो एट द सेम टाइम यू वॉन्ट मेक मनी, एंड यू विल गेट अ वेरी गुड ग्रेट सम ऑफ डिविडेंड्स. ऑन द अदर हैंड वी हैव द लाइक्स ऑफ ज्योति resins, right? Jyoti resins we saw कि like after Q4 it's been a bit of haywire. पहला था कि like volumes था but it was not reflected in terms of revenue. फिर थोड़ा revenue भी flat होने लगा and then revenue started degrowing. It is another second quarter where you're seeing कि like revenue has also degrown. In spite of Q3 being the best season, you will see कि like revenue has degrown by 7% on a year-on-year basis. और PAT जो है, although PAT has increased again, वही raw material का expansion के वजह से. There is one thing what I don't like here about this company is like they have the highest gross margin and everything, it is okay, but ultimately अगर आप sales grow नहीं करोगे, then what is the point of having the highest gross margin or anything? Ultimately you will need to grow your sales for all of your investors to make money. That is the bottom line, right? The other thing is like उनका जो how do I put this, see they are moving into new states, right? From Gujarat they're moving into Delhi NCR, they're moving to Uttar Pradesh, but the rate at which they're doing the scale is also it is not that fast for them to like convert it into top line, like a huge pace in sales growth also. The last thing I would like to highlight is, like, see, most of the times we investors think, right, like, we have this way of making this generalized statement कि like अगर debt नहीं है तो company में it is the best, अगर debt है तो बुरा है, अगर QIP करता है तो भी बुरा है, we give this गाली to all these people. But having said that, Jyoti is a very good example कि like you might have a lot of cash on your balance sheet, but still it is of no use because you're not growing. अगर आप Jyoti का balance sheet देखो, it is such a cash rich company, okay, like literally I don't think I've ever come across a company that has so much cash lying around, okay. उनका ROE देखो, ROCE देखो, north of 30%, right? So they can आराम से grow at that rate without having to take a debt or without having to do a QIP or anything. But ultimately, like I told you, there is lack in hunger for the management, I would say, to grow. It is not growing at that fast rate. So ultimately, again, nothing to comment here other than the fact that there is no growth, right? On the other hand, you have some companies that are doing, taking debt and growing, doing QIP and growing. Of course, QIP करेगा तो ROE थोड़ा घटेगा and shareholders के लिए वो उतना incentive नहीं होगा. But ultimately, at least they are growing, right? So this is what I would tell, like never make any generalized statement in a market like debt bad hai, debt बुरा है. Again, Jyoti is a good example for that. Like, what is the point of having so much cash in the balance sheet when you are not even growing ultimately, right? So, and there is no update even in terms of like unka last time they told like they're probably looking for a capex to be done in the south, in the southern market. Again, no tentative date as to when. That is what they're doing because abhi tak unka jo bhi hai, ek Gujarat mein ek plant hai which they've started very early on from the business and they've been doing the capacity expansion over there only. So nothing other than that. And another disappointing thing here is in Q2, that is by the end of H1, the management had told like हम लोग 25% से grow करेंगे. But at this rate, I would find it very hard to grow, that the company will grow at 25%. One second, let me just get the numbers, QOQ numbers. देखो, बिकॉज अगर आप मार्च 2023 का फुल ईयर का सेल्स देखते हो, इट इज़ अराउंड 261 करोर्स और जून, सितंबर और दिसंबर में द सेल हैज़ बीन 61, 63, 62, सो रफली अराउंड 180, 186 करोर्स टू बी वेरी प्रिसाइज, राइट? सो 186 करोर्स एज ऑफ 9 months एंड FY23 का था 261 करोर्स. So they have to roughly make 186 to 261, around 70 to 80 crores in the next Q4. Q3 being the best season only, the sales was very flat in terms of QOQ as well as year on year to gata hai. So interesting to see if they will be able to at least come to that flat, at least March FY23 and March FY24 अगर आप देखते हो, let us see if even there will be a flat sales growth या sales degrowth होगा again year on year basis also, because it would be a big stretch for them to at least come to that 261 crores. So I don't think at this rate, at least the which they were growing in the last 3 quarters, I don't think they can grow at 25% anymore, right? So that's that about the entire adhesive space. So yeah, that's the summary of paints and adhesive space. Most of the companies that you see do not have sales growth. The only reason they have PAT is because of margin expansion in raw material prices. And yeah, I think these are the 2 videos for today. I've done already Sula and Som. I might do Tina rubber if time permits me. Otherwise, I'll cover it tomorrow. Yeah. So that's that, and have a nice day. Bye bye.